So this is a very quick video based on income tax, just in terms of how to calculate it. But to begin with, what we actually mean by income tax is, first of all, it's a direct tax. So when we say direct tax, if you're working for a firm, then the employer will pay that income tax directly to the government on your behalf. If you are, for example, a self-employed or you're a sole trader, if you're a sole trader, then you're expected to pay your income tax to the government. So you will have to calculate that, whether that's you've got an accountant or whatever that might be. But if you're, for example, generating profits, then you'll pay an income tax based on that. It's also designed for vertical equity. And what I mean by that is the more you earn, the belief is the more that you should contribute towards the government and the obviously government expenditure. Now, when we look at the current UK tax brackets for 2020 with income tax, we can see that once you exceed the additional rate, and if you're generating a salary which is higher than 150,000, then obviously everything above that 150,000, you'd have to pay 45%. Now, that tells you that once you exceed the basic rate, once you exceed the higher rate, the more you are earning in your salary, the more that you have to pay, and it's not proportionate. And that's why it's a progressive tax. And the whole idea is that distribution of income and wealth, and to redistribute it to the lower income to obviously help the government to fund those lower groups that may require more support. Now, when we're looking at how to calculate it, every single individual has a personal allowance, and that personal allowance at this moment in time is 12,500. So nobody will get taxed on that first 12,500. So even if you are a millionaire, or even if you are on a minimum wage, if you're generating a salary of higher than 12,500, then everybody will get that personal allowance. Now, once you get into the basic rate, and you may be in the basic rate of, for example, 30,000, then you are simply paying that 30,000, and the difference between 30,000 and 12,500. Because once you exceed that 12,500, you will have to pay a tax on that first pound, up to the point that you are obviously getting paid to. So if that's 30,000, it'd be 30,000 minus 12,500, and you'd work out the tax rate on that, which is 20%. So you get 20% of that amount, and that's how much you'd be paying. If you actually exceed that basic rate and you go into the higher rate and go into the additional rate, then obviously you'd be working out the differences. So for example, 150,000 minus 50,000, 40% on that. And you'll be paying the 40% on that difference because you've already paid the 20% on the difference between 50,000 and 12,500. And if you get into the additional rate, then whatever your salary is, you've already paid the tax rate in the higher rate, you've already paid the tax rate in the basic rate, and now you're paying the additional rate based on whatever that salary is, minus the 150,000. The one mistake that some students make is that they believe, especially students who don't study economics, they believe that actually 45%, that's on your whole salary if you're exceeding that 150,000, which is certainly not the case. So what we're going to look at is, we're going to look at one individual. I am a Manchester United fan, and it does haunt me in terms of what his salary is, considering his quality on the pitch. But we're going to look at Paul Pogba, because Paul Pogba is a prime example who would be in the additional rate. So he will get the personal allowance of 12,500. He will pay the basic rate, he will pay the higher rate, but then he'll be in the highest rate. And what we're going to do within this video is calculate how to actually work out the income tax he would pay. So these are his reported salary figures from Manchester United. Now, how accurate these are, I'm not entirely sure. Of course, he'll be getting sponsorship deals as well, so he'll be getting different payments. But reportedly, he's earning £15.08 million a year. Now, I'm not concerned about per second, per minute, per hour, per day, per week, per month. When we're looking at income tax, we're going to be based on an annual salary. So what I'm going to do is, in the next part of this video, I'm going to go through how to calculate how much income tax Paul Pogba should be paying based on these figures. Okay, so we've got per year 15.08 million, and we're going to be basing it on the UK's income tax for this year. And again, of course, they may change. The government might decide to change them, especially based on COVID and trying to get the economy to recover. But within this video, we're looking at this. So, like with everybody else, he will not pay anything on the first 12,500. Now, in terms of the basic rate, we will have to work out the difference between the 50,000 and the 12,500, because remember, he's still paying the tax on that £1. All right. So when we're looking at it from 50,000 to 12,500 and the 20%, what we'd get is £7,500. So he will be paying 7,500 in that basic rate. But obviously he exceeds that basic rate. So even though he's paying 7,500, he'll also have to pay 40% on that higher rate. So what we'd have to do is get the 150,000 and subtract in terms of the £50,000. So again, within that, what we'll simply do is work it out, which is £100,000, times it by the 40%, which is 0.4, and we'd get 40,000. So within that rate, Paul Pogba is paying 7,500. But he's also paying 40,000. So currently he's paying 47,500. But he's in the highest rate because he's got those ridiculous figures in terms of 15.08 million. So what we'd have to do now is work out, well, what's the difference between 150,000 and 15.08 million? And work out 45% on that. So what we'd get is 15,080,000 minus 150,000. So he'd be 14,930,000 over, times it by 45%, and we'd get 6,718,500, which he's paying just in that bracket. So what we have to do now is think about, well, how much is he paying overall in terms of income tax? So we'd simply just add them all together and we'd get 6,766,000. Now, you can subtract that from the 15.08 million, but that's not going to be his take-home pay. And the reason for that is because we're not including national insurance. National insurance is also another direct pay, another direct tax, and that's based on obviously whatever his tax brackets will be in terms of his national insurance code. And I'm not going to delve into that, and you won't expect to be calculating that within an A-level specification. Now, some of you may think, oh, that is far too high. Some of you may think it's not enough. It completely is based on your viewpoint and what you consider equity to be. Remember, equity is to do with fairness, and they believe with a progressive income tax level, then that would bring about vertical equity. So there is the belief that the higher you earn, the more income tax you should be paying. Now, whether in terms of if that's progressive enough, then that's again a different political viewpoint. These income tax brackets, they can change. Jeremy Corbyn, when he was running for the election against Boris Johnson, he wanted to bring in an additional rate and change the brackets to make it even more progressive. And he was, for example, saying that actually we need to consider millionaires and they should be paying even more. So think about that as well. Now, in terms of Paul Pogba, I thought I'd end the video on some of his finest moments for you to decide whether that amount is enough and whether his salary is perhaps too high.